I'd like to call to order the Monday, June 17th, 2024 meeting of Lake Zurich Village Board. Clerk Johnson, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Poynton.
Here.
Trustee Bobrowski.
Here.
Trustee Euchre.
Here.
Trustee Riley.
Here.
Trustee Shagru.
Here.
Trustee Wider.
Present.
Trustee Spicone is absent and excused.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item on the agenda is public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for residents to comment briefly on matters included on the agenda and otherwise of interest to the Board of Trustees. Public comment is limited to 30 minutes in total and 5 minutes per person. When you step to the podium, if you haven't already done so, please sign in and identify yourself with your name and address for the record. We'll start off by taking public comment from the sign-in sheet. And I see only Jason Sapphire on here, but he's on the agenda. Are you okay? Okay. So are there any other people in the audience who want to speak at public comment if you're not on the agenda? I'm not seeing anybody get up, so I'm going to close public comment and move on to the President's report. And one item on the President's report, that's the advice and consent of trustees to reappoint to the Community and Police Advisory Committee for 3 years a number of people. The Community Police Advisory Committee, CPAC, is comprised of 7 members appointed by the village president with the advice and consent of the Village Board of Trustees. It includes 2 members of the Lake Zurich Police Department recommended by the police chief, the village's director of public works, and the designated village board liaison to the police department, and 3 residents of the village. The committee is advisory to the Village Board of Trustees only and has no power to take action on behalf of the Board of Trustees or the village. Volunteer members serve without compensation. The committee meets quarterly at Lake Zurich Village Hall. This evening, I am pleased, actually, to reappoint the following people to the CPAC committee. Village Board Trustee and Police Department Liaison Roger Shagru, Public Works Director Mike Brown, volunteer resident Sean Gallagher, and volunteer resident Corey Frank. The Village Board has previously been supplied with members' bios for reference. These are existing members, mostly, who have been reappointed. At this point, I'm going to ask, are there any questions or comments from the board on the appointments? Nope. Okay, then may I have a motion to approve and affirm the reappointment of Village Board Trustee Roger Shagru, Public Works Director Mike Brown, volunteer resident Sean Gallagher, and volunteer resident Corey Frank to the Community and Police Advisory Committee for 3-year terms that run from April 1st, 2024. This is a misprint. It's supposed to be July 1st, 2024 to July 30th, 2027. So I need a motion and a second.
I'll make that motion. Euchre.
Mary Beth Euchre, and the second.
Second, Riley.
William Riley. Clerk Johnson, please call the roll.
Trustee Bobrowski.
Aye.
Trustee Euchre.
Aye.
Trustee Riley.
Aye.
Trustee Shagru.
Aye.
Trustee Wider.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Those members have been reappointed, and I want to thank the resident volunteers for stepping up. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. The titles on the consent agenda will be read by the clerk and approved by a single roll call vote. Any item may be pulled from the consent agenda for discussion or a separate vote by any member of the board. Clerk Johnson, would you please read the titles?
6A, approval of minutes from the Village Board meeting of June 3rd, 2024. 6B, approval of semi-monthly warrant register dated June 17th, 2024, totaling $1,584,303.54. 6C, intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Kildare and the Village of Hawthorne Woods regarding the use of the Village of Lake Zurich Police Holding Facility. 6D, event approval to use Paulus Park Playground Pavilion for family graduation party on July 20th, 2024. 6E, ordinance granting special use permit for planned unit development and related zoning approvals for 7 Brew Drive-Through Coffee Shop at 880 South Rand Road, assigned ordinance 2024-06-573.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from the board want any item pulled for separate discussion or a separate vote?
I do.
Yes.
I'd like a discussion, or I have some questions about item 6D.
6D,
Yes.
which is the pavilion.
Yeah, the pavilion for the family graduation party.
Okay, anybody else?
Nothing else.
Okay, and I'm going to ask for 6E to be pulled as well. Discussion and/or separate vote. I think the MB, you just want to talk about that?
I just had a couple questions.
Okay, and then I want this for a separate vote and a separate presentation by the seven Brew Coffee people. So, MB? Go ahead.
Okay, so just a couple things. I looked at the application for the party. I don't know who I'm addressing these questions to.
I'll try to field it if I best I can.
Okay, thanks, Ray. So I looked for the application, and there's like a waiver there to be signed by the resident who's applying for the permit. I assume we have a signed waiver from the resident, because it doesn't appear on the one signed by our personnel. The other thing is it's not filled out or attached to indicate whether liquor is going to be served, and they're going to provide any separate event policy for dram insurance or something like that, social host liability.
I can help you with that part.
Thank you.
If I may.
Yes.
A private event at Paulus Park would be, if they wanted to serve liquor, would be subject to a private event liquor license. So far, I have not received that request.
Great.
But they would be required to provide all those items, should they want to proceed with that.
Right.
But they have really up to 10 days or so before to get that squared away if they want to.
There looked like some language in the form that said, may provide, and I was like, no, they have to provide that, right? And then we don't have a signed copy of the thing.
No, again, as long as they provide it prior to the event.
We don't, so they don't have to sign the waiver until just before the event?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, they
Okay.
do.
All right, thank you, that's all.
Do they know what they have to do?
They do, yes.
They do. They've been made aware of it.
They're always made aware of it. Park and Rec staff advises them that if they're going to have liquor at an event, then they will need to have a liquor license, and we kind of go through the regular steps all the time. And then we send a copy of the private event liquor license back to Park and Rec, so we can kind of tie up all the loose ends.
Okay. Okay, good deal.
Thank you, thanks, Michael, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Beth. Item 6E is an ordinance, it's for a request for an ordinance granting special use permit for a PUD, planned unit development, and related zoning approvals for 7 Brew Drive-Through Coffee Shop at 880 South Rand Road. This is the location where the former animal hospital is, next to, right near Walmart. So what I've asked Sarosh and the 7 Brew people to do is give us a presentation on that particular item. I know it went through the Plan Commission with a recommendation with some changes, and I'm going to throw it to you then.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening. This evening we have the representatives from 7 Brew, Mr. Chris George. I have advised him to be prepared for a presentation, which he is. We've loaded it up. But before he gets on, just want to let you know that this went before the Planning and Zoning Commission on May 15th. It received a unanimous 6-0 recommendation for approval with certain conditions. Prior to coming to the Village Board, some of those conditions were met by the applicant, and he is here this evening to describe what they have done to further ameliorate some of the concerns of the adjacent property owner in terms of how they plan to screen their property and the adjacent properties from any noise and light activities that take place during their operations. Mr. George, if you'd like to go to the podium, introduce yourself, and your presentation will come up when you're ready.
Good evening, and thank you, Sarosh. My name is Chris George. I'm representing.
It'll come on.
You could use the podium microphone.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
There you go.
Is that better? Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yep, my name is Chris George, representing Brew LLC, who is a franchisee of Seven Brew Coffee. We have the markets of the Chicagoland area, Nashville, Tennessee, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Property that we're discussing today is 880 South Rand Road. It's just over 0.6 of an acre and is home to the former vet clinic that is currently vacant, just over 2,600 square feet. What we are proposing to do there is demolish the existing building and then construct our 510 square foot building with a 238 square foot cooler and dry storage, a trash corral, and a double drive-through facility. It's currently zoned B3 Regional Shopping Business District, and Sarosh went through the required approvals for us as well. Who is Seven Brew? So Seven Brew, our first stand opened in Rogers, Arkansas. There are currently more than 200 locations across the United States, and corporate across all their franchisees has plans to have open over 400 stores by the end of 2024. It is a drive-through only concept with a double drive-through. There is no indoor service or walk-up service in the concept. What's unique to us is that we do not have your typical ordering speaker box. We have our team members out in the drive-through queues with iPads, actually walking up to the customers' car windows and taking their order there. What we found is that this allows us to have an emphasis on speed. Our goal is to have all customers through the drive-through lanes from the point of order to when they're driving away with their coffee in 3 minutes or less. And it also allows us to interact with our customers to create a fun, friendly, and high-energy environment to keep customers coming back. Here is an example of our menu. It is all liquid-based. We serve espresso-based coffee drinks, chillers, teas, infused energy drinks, smoothies, and shakes. Here I have some pictures of the existing closed animal hospital that's there. This is the view looking to the north. Here's another view looking at the east elevation of the building, at the west elevation of the current building, and the north elevation, so looking south. And then here is another view that doesn't have the building blocking, looking to the north, where you can see that there is quite a bit of mature landscape growth in that area, blocking the detention basin directly to the north, as well as the single-family home to the northeast of the parcel. Here is an aerial of our location identified in the box in red is the current vet clinic that's closed and where we're proposing to put Seven Brew drive-through coffee. In the yellow box is the closest single-family home resident. One item that I would like to point out here is that our property boundaries actually don't touch her property boundaries. When I get to the survey file here in a little bit, it's kind of hard to see, but there are quite a number of drainage and utility easements running through that location there. Here's another aerial photo showing the same thing, showing property boundaries of all the properties in that area. You can see once again that the northeast corner of our property does not touch the southwest corner of the adjacent single-family home property as well. And then here is that survey file indicating the same thing. Was there a laser pointer here, Sarosh?
One of the buttons on the, yes.
Push the power button on top.
No.
You can highlight it.
I think you advanced the slide, go back one.
How do I go? Oh, there we go.
There you go.
This area here is what I'm talking about, where the two properties do not connect to each other at all. So the mature trees and plant growth that I showed in that picture is actually not on the premise where Seven Brew Coffee is going. That's on the parcel of the adjacent detention basin.
So just to clarify, Chris, those shrubs and trees that are not on your property will not be touched?
Nope. I am
Okay.
not leasing any portion of that. I am not touching that plant material at all. That is all there to stay.
Okay,
I own it, and it's not coming down. I own that property that he's talking about, and I will not be removing that vegetation.
okay.
Just good information.
Thank you. Here's our.
That was Jason Sapphire, who's on the agenda and owns that property, so, Jason?
Yes.
Yep.
Here is the site plan for the proposed 7 Brew drive-through coffee. We have a single drive-through access lane on the eastern portion, but the bottom part of this screen, the cars will then circulate around the site into the double drive-through component on the west side of the property, which is the top side there. We have in this, the bottom right corner is our trash enclosure, which is going to help screen anything to the adjacent properties to the north. As I mentioned earlier, we have a 510 square foot stand, which is located right here. We have our 238 square foot remote cooler, which is located directly behind the building, and then our trash enclosure in that bottom right-hand corner on this site plan. We have a 24-car drive-through stack here. And I know there were conversations at Plan Commission regarding deliveries, and I know that Lake Zurich has restricted times when deliveries can come. We will comply with that and work with our vendors to receive deliveries at off-peak times for our business, but within the allowed timeframes for that to take place. The parking on site is just for staff members only because we are a drive-through only concept. And then here is our landscape plan. What I'd like to point out on here, and it's kind of hard to see on this exhibit, but we have increased the plant material on the north boundary, which is the right side to help with screening there. We've also included a 6-foot-tall fence that's going to be installed from the northwest corner of the property, running the entire length of the north property line, and then returning to the south on the east property line to meet with the face of the trash enclosure. So it's going to start up at this corner here, run all the way down that property line, and then return the corner here all the way to this first tree right there identified on that plan.
So where would the closest resident then be to that fence?
The closest resident is in this direction here.
Okay,
So we feel that we are adequately accommodating the comments that we've received and working with Sarosh and the rest of staff to allow for the fence, increased plant material, and the trash enclosure to help buffer car headlights, noise, any of that that might be a disturbance to the adjacent single-family home neighbor. We want to be good neighbors and stewards of the community. That's first and foremost for us. And we think that not having your traditional drive-through speaker box is going to help with that as well. And then here is a colored rendering of our proposed building for the site as well.
so you said you had no speaker box, but you had people with iPads or pads
Correct.
taking orders? What are they going to be outside every minute you're open?
Every minute we're open, they are outside. We have 7 Brew branded jackets, hats, gloves for them to wear. We also have a couple heaters underneath the canopy at the service pickup station to help keep them warm in cooler months.
Okay.
So with that being said, I'm happy to answer any other questions anyone has.
Okay, anybody?
What hours are you looking at?
We're open 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Anybody else? Huh? Okay. I walked the property today with the resident who's here in the audience, Kathy. And I think I cleared up a few things that we saw on the property with Kathy. So I guess from what I see, she's going to be pretty darn shielded from any lights, noise, any additional noise. You know, it's right on Rand Road, so you can't get rid of all that. But my concern was when I saw how much foliage there was around her house, that she was going to lose that, but
Yep.
she's not.
Correct.
My second concern when I walked back there was and I noticed the number of easements that were back there with sanitary sewer, stormwater sewer, ComEd, and I think Comcast or cable easements back there. I think that I think that she's going to be very well shaded. So, what does the fence add to her protection back there and those residents' protection back there? It's a 6-foot fence.
Correct. It's an additional line to help with the sound barrier and help with car headlights are not penetrating higher than 6 feet. So I know she voiced her concerns about those two items at that location, which we took very seriously. We feel like we've worked with staff to accommodate. We feel like that was an appropriate height fence to help accommodate that.
Okay. Is 6 feet, a 6-foot fence going to be enough? Because I stood in her backyard, next to the fence. She has a 7-foot fence in her backyard.
I think there'd be very little difference between a 6 and 7-foot fence from a sound barrier standpoint or a light prevention standpoint from shining over to her parcel. And we feel, as the petitioner, that the 6-foot high fence is appropriate in this situation.
So, just to make it a little bit more protection from the lights, can you do a 7-foot fence? 7 foot to 7 foot? I don't know what the 6 foot is going to do.
Yes, that is something we could provide, yes. If you think that would make a difference, we'd be happy to.
Well, how high can you go?
Do that.
How high can you go?
Can you go, Sarosh?
Can you
I'm
go?
sure there's limitations in height on what's allowed from a fence height as
Right.
well in the
Okay.
community too. And I think at some point, now you're you're distracting from the building. You're looking at an abnormally large fence at the rear of the property as well.
Okay. Huh? Sarosh?
In addition to the trees too, I took a look at their plans to see, sorry, in addition to the fence, I took a look at the plans to see how the trees would grow at full bloom. The trees that they're planting are two Shawnee Brave ball cypress trees that grow to 50 to 75 feet in height and about 50 to 20 feet in spread. And in between, they have 5 sweet bay magnolias, which grow 10 to 20 feet in height and 10 to 20 feet in spread. So anything that the fence doesn't cover, these would pretty much cover the rest of the height. And we typically, from professional practice, we also rely on landscaping to absorb a lot of the noise, because the fence provides year-round permanent screening, but for the remaining height, we do rely on landscaping to provide that level of screening, and they have provided that in their plan at this time.
Okay, two other points. One is lighting and the other one is traffic. That's a funky spot for traffic. I'm not quite sure how successful you're going to be with that quick little button hook turn there. And I guess, why did you pick that spot?
We like the location on Rand Road, proximate to large anchor tenants. People are used to shopping and driving down that road. There's a lot of traffic on that road during our peak times in the morning. What I think will help from a traffic concern standpoint is there is the right in, right out to us to the east, where customers can take that access point and relieve congestion on Pheasant Ridge Road. And in addition to our peak times being in the mornings, really kind of 7:30 to 9, that's not in alignment when a lot of other peak times of other users in that large shopping center that would be using the Pheasant Ridge Road access point would be driving through that intersection at that time.
Well, Pheasant Ridge is only one way there going into that location. You know that?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing was who maintains the road there? Because you're now adding a ton of traffic to a road that's basically a frontage road, and historically, I don't know who's been maintaining it. Is that a village road? Do you know?
I believe that's also Chasen.
What?
But Fidelity maintains that road.
Okay. So that's a whole lot more activity on that road because that animal hospital had 2 or 3 people every 3 hours go in there. And then it's been almost empty, almost completely empty for a couple of years. So I don't know how we end up with maintenance on that road. If Fidelity is making maintaining the road, are they collecting any rent from the people who are along the road for help?
Just for the question for fidelity.
Sure, come on up.
But I can't use the podium, so I'm gonna grab the other mic.
Grab the mic.
Yeah.
This Chase?
Good evening, Mayor.
Put up, the one up on top. Like on the side, there's a up, down. There you go, try that.
Yeah.
Hello again, Mayor and fellow trustees. That is correct. We do own that road since we own the Deer Path Court Shopping Center. And we developed all those properties other than the animal hospital some years ago. Since then, we've sold all of them, but we still own that road because it's actually a separate lot in the subdivision. So we do maintain it. We had plans, if you notice, we did a whole bunch of asphalt repair over at Deer Path Commons this past year, Village Square. That was on our list. But with Doc, I forget his name now, but that owned the animal hospital, he came over and joined the practice at Companion, which is one of our tenants. So we knew that he was going to be putting this up for sale, at which time we decided not to go ahead and repair the road last year because I knew there'd be construction and that would be a bad investment on my part. So we do have plans to repave, resurface the whole road.
Okay.
We only own up to the old motel that's there, that's owned by the Rackow family.
Right.
But we've always maintained it because I didn't want to get in an argument. So our plan would be at some point to go ahead and repave with about 1.5 inches of surface the whole road once the construction's completed. To answer your question, we are supposed to go ahead and get paid for some of our work. That hasn't always happened by all of the property owners. I can't speak to the current petitioner because obviously they're new. So that's yet to be determined how that'll all get worked out. But regardless, we will maintain the road that we own because that's just what we do in the village.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. So then my last question is on the lighting that's there. There's a low level of light standards in the area now. Are we going higher than that or the same as that?
We are going higher than what the Lake Zurich lighting code requires, which is no more than 10-foot candles at any point on the property. The lights immediately below the canopy are being allowed to go up to 20-foot candles. That is consistent with a number of canopies for gas stations or banks that we do allow. And we found that those light levels are acceptable. We've not received any complaints from people saying that those light levels are very high. We've noticed that the industry standard for a bank canopy is about 50 to 80-foot candles. We allow only 20. And the industry standard for a gas station outside of Lake Zurich is about 80 to 120. They really like to light up under the canopy, they can use them on. But in Lake Zurich, they're allowing no more than 20-foot candles, which staff is believed to be acceptable and reasonable to allow.
So what about the light height of the actual standard, the light standard itself?
The canopy, do we have information on the height of the canopy?
The canopy is approximately 9 foot 9 inches tall.
Well, it looks to be about a little shorter than what's there right now, which works.
Correct, yeah, and it's in a limited area just under the canopies on site. So I do not envision that being a light pollution source.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? No? Okay. Then I will make, since I pulled it, I'll make a motion to, find it here, to approve, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance granting special use permit for a planned unit development and related zoning approvals for 7 Brew Drive-Through Coffee Shop at 880 South Rand Road, assigned ordinance number 2024-06-573. Can I have a second, please?
We didn't vote on the consent
I'll
agenda.
second.
Oh, we didn't vote on the consent agenda.
I don't believe we did, no, so we could just maybe make a motion on
Got away
the
from
agenda
me.
as a whole.
Okay, so then I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Second, please.
Second, Whiter.
Right? Right, Clerk Jensen? You're keeping me straight.
Correct.
Okay, and
Okay.
would you call the roll?
Trustee Euchre.
Aye.
Trustee Riley.
Aye.
Trustee Chagru.
Aye.
Trustee Wyder.
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski.
Aye.
Okay, Mayor, motion carries.
we're done. You've got a whole bunch of changes you asked for. I guess you've met the standard, and take all the stuff we took into consideration tonight, and good luck,
Thank you. Appreciate everyone's
okay?
time. tonight.
Because she's going to be watching you.
Hey, thanks for bringing your business to Lake Zurich, too. Thank you.
Thank you. We're very excited to come. Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of the consent agenda. We move on to new business. First item, trustee Euchre.
Hang on, sorry. Okay, 7A, resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement establishing the Lake Consolidated Emergency Communications, LakeCom, Public Safety Answering Point. Assigned Resolution 2024-06-087. In summary, in recent years, several local governments across Lake County have studied consolidating more than a dozen independent emergency dispatch centers. All of the studies concluded that emergency dispatch consolidation is a mutually beneficial path for public safety entities in Lake County and the communities they serve. The most significant step towards regional emergency dispatch consolidation occurred in October 2021 when the Lake County Board authorized entering into an agreement for design and construction of a consolidated 911 center and emergency operations center on the Lake County campus in Libertyville. Since the fall of 2022, Lake Zurich has been a partner in developing an intergovernmental agreement that establishes this new public safety answering point called LakeCom. Approval of the agreement would establish Lake Zurich as one of LakeCom's founding members, along with the other participating dispatch centers that are joining LakeCom. Lake Zurich is projected to save approximately $170,000 in the first year and $500,000 over a 6-year period when compared to continuing to operate an independent dispatch operation. Contracting for dispatch operations would also forestall a significant capital outlay for replacing dispatch consoles and equipment that are near end of life if the village were to continue its dispatch operations. The transition to LakeCom is planned for third or fourth quarter of 2025, which will be reflected in the draft village budget for the year 2025.
Okay, Chief Husak.
So as the summary indicated, we've been working on this project for a number of years across Lake County to consolidate unconnected dispatch centers. We feel the studies have shown, and I agree with the studies that show that getting the right people to the right place at the right time quickly is more efficient with a consolidated center. Lake County is behind the times. Most of your large most counties have a few centers in the whole county. And what this will do is provide some relief. It's a brand-new facility, hardened facility, weatherproof facility, but also provides additional staff than small centers. Ours, for instance, has 12 dispatchers, 2 or 3 on at a time. If you have a big emergency, if you need 5, 6, 7, 10, they're all going to be there to dispatch for the issues that come up. So it builds in an efficiency, financially, and an efficiency in getting the right people, emergency personnel, to scenes of emergencies. There are 7 dispatch centers that have all agreed that they would like to come through to this, and approximately 21 agencies that have decided that they or have indicated that they're committed to be a founding member. So we're just looking, we talked about this a couple of meetings ago about the issues and a little bit of the history, so I certainly can answer more questions, but we also did have good dialogue back on that meeting a few meetings ago.
Okay. Board, questions for the chief? Nope? Anybody? Okay.
All right. With that, I would like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-06-087, approving an intergovernmental agreement establishing the Lake Consolidated Emergency Communications, LakeCom, Public Safety Answering Point. And I'll need a second.
Second, Riley.
Okay. Kathleen, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Riley?
Aye.
Trustee Chagru?
Aye.
Trustee Wyder?
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski?
Aye.
Trustee Euchre?
Aye.
Okay. The IGA is done. The rest is just getting this put together.
Yeah, it's just the work's getting started now. There's a transition team in place to work on getting the people, staff, technology, those kinds of things. Mr. Keller's been involved in what's called the PSAP Consolidation Committee. He had mentioned at the last meeting that there's a lot of Lake Zurich input in this overall group. And so we will now work with that group to form a new board. You'll see that on an upcoming item, and to work on the transition.
So just in case anybody's wondering why there aren't very many questions from the board, we've been doing this for how long now? It's been in process?
We've been actively involved for over 2 years, but there have been studies going back a decade in which we participated in.
Right. So most of the questions that we've had over the course of the 2 years plus have been answered as we progress through. So they've been discussed here at this board meeting. So, okay. Next item, Trustee Shagru.
Resolution appointing Village of Lake Zurich representative and designated alternate to the member board of the Lake Consolidated Emergency Communications, LakeCom, Public Safety Answering Point, assigned resolution 2024-6-088. In summary, as a member of the LakeCom Regional Dispatch Center, the Village of Lake Zurich shall appoint one representative as the principal designee to serve on the LakeCom Board of Directors and designate one alternate to have the same rights and authority as the principal representative. The proposed resolution appoints Mayor Tom Poynton as Lake Zurich's principal designee and Police Chief Steve Husak to serve as the alternate.
Chief, anything more to add? Pretty straightforward.
No, so there's a large board of all the members. Everyone essentially has a vote. And then there's a executive board that'll be created from that, a 7-member executive board. So we would have representation. So the mayor would be our representative. If he can't be there, I could be his alternate.
Okay. Questions? Anybody? Nope. Okay. Roger?
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2024-06-088, appointing Village of Lake Zurich representative and designated alternate to the member board of the Lake Consolidated Emergency Communications, LakeCom Public Safety Answering Point.
Second, please. Anybody?
Second, Riley.
Riley? And Kathleen, call the roll, please.
Trustee Shagru.
Aye.
Trustee Weider.
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski.
Aye.
Trustee Euchre.
Aye.
Trustee Riley.
Aye.
Okay, onward with consolidation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a courtesy review with Paul Prano Properties, Trustee Bobrowski.
Yes, so in summary, Paul Porolano Properties requests a courtesy review with the village board to consider a mixed-use development on the village-owned parcels at Block A. The proposed concept consists of 51 luxury rental units over 3 stories with 5 retail units on the ground floor of varying size. Parking spaces include 161 sub-garage, indoor, and surface spaces. It's a non-voting item at this time.
Sarosh? Oh, Michael, sorry.
Sorry, I know it's difficult to tell us apart.
Look
at times.
alike, yeah.
We have Mr. Paul Pirano, representing Paul Pirano Properties, as well as Mr. Inderverk this evening, that are going to talk us through their view and vision for Block A. We had a presentation during the last board meeting, and this is a completely separate presentation from another proposer for that property.
Okay, Paul?
Mr. Mayor, trustees, good evening. My name is Paul Pirano, and here beside me is my partner, Inder Verk. We are locals in the community. I've been living in Lake Zurich for about 8 years now. My son is 11 years old. He actually just finished May Whitney and is going now to Middle School North. I am a commercial real estate broker. I've been leasing and selling property in Lake Zurich for the past 5 years. I also coach for LZ Hoops, 4th and 5th grade basketball team. I'm not sure if my partner would like to talk a little bit about himself, but we are here to propose today a plan for the promenade. We call it the Promenade Project on Block A. If you would allow me, I'd like to read to you a description of what we wrote, describing a little bit about the project, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. The Promenade Project on Block A, a luxurious mixed-use haven situated along a picturesque shores of Lake Zurich, Illinois. Prepare to immerse yourself in an enhancing fusion of residential and dynamic retail offerings. Perfectly positioned on the southeastern edge of Lake Zurich, a hidden gem waiting to be uncovered. Nestled amidst the bustling intersection of Illinois' Route 12 and 22, Lake Zurich shines as a beacon of prosperity. The Promenade Project serves as a testament to unmatched sophistication and cosmopolitan charm for residents and visitors alike. The visionary encompasses 51 condominium-style rental residences spanning 3 floors, each excluding an air of refined sophistication. The unit mix comprises of 27 spacious 2-bedroom, 2-bath units ranging from 1,000 to 1,400 square feet, and 24 inviting 1-bedroom, 1-bath units ranging from 900 to 1,000 square feet on each floor, complemented by 5 vibrant retail units situated at the ground level. At the ground level, a dynamic array of retail experience awaits, from restaurants, tutoring businesses, luxurious spas, and more. With 161 combined indoor and outdoor parking spaces, seamless access to this oasis of indulgence is ensured. As a crowning glory, the building offers a sweeping panorama of the tranquil lake, inviting residents and visitors to revel in the serenity of their surroundings. The plaza boasts a breathtaking rooftop deck, providing an unparalleled venue of relaxation and enjoyment against the stunning backdrop of Lake Zurich. Key amenities include a staff lobby, an exercise facility, and a versatile multi-purpose room suitable for gathering or meetings. Access across the floors, including the parking level, is facilitated by 2 elevators, ensuring convenience and ease for all. This is the Promenade Project on Block A we are proposing. We are very excited about this project, and we'd like to open up for questions.
Do you have any pretty pictures of what you're showing
I
us?
apologize. I do. Here we go. See if I can learn how to use this. All right, so here is the front elevation that we put together. By the way, not only did I bring my partner, but we also brought the architect who put these together, Jonathan Nadala. If you want to raise your hand, he's with us today if you have any specific questions. So here is the front elevation. Don't mind the green cars. Rear elevation. South elevation. Side elevation. As you can see here, we have a picture of the rooftop deck. Oops, this thing doesn't go back. Here it goes. Which we did our homework, and we're finding ways to keep the noise down. So we will keep it down by minimizing the hours of operation on the rooftop deck. Here are some of the other pictures. As you can see, there will be, first floor will be about 15,000 square feet of retail spaces split into 5 different units. Here you see a site plan of the parking. We'll have a total of 191 parking spaces, indoor and outdoor. And how that breaks up is 91 outdoor parking spaces and 70 indoor. Here's a floor plan of the retail spaces. It's a little blurry, but you can see how the 5 retail spaces will be broken up. We'll actually have a area on the upper right-hand corner that will be just for lounge.
So you said 91 and 70, that's 161 parking spaces, but I thought
Yep,
you said,
161, 91, and 70.
I thought you said earlier 191.
Did I? I apologize. Yeah, it's 161.
161?
Yep, 161, 91 outdoor, 70 indoor.
Okay.
Here is the breakdown of the floor plan on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor. As you can see, we have a mixture of 24 one-bedroom, one-bath units, and 27 two-bedroom, two-bath, totaling 51 units. And that is our presentation.
Okay, so this is a courtesy review. We won't be voting on this. I'm going to poll the board and see what their input is. That's what you're here for.
Right.
Raj, you want to start? Roger Chagru?
Yeah. So a little bit, I think the biggest concern I see and I hear and you see on social media is parking. Parking is always by far in front the biggest concern. So going a little bit further of your breakdown, so is the parking, you said indoor and outdoor parking, is it underground, I assume? Or
Yes.
It's
Correct.
partially underground. It's a semi, we dig down about 4 feet. You could speak into the mic. Sorry. It's semi-underground, so we're going down about 4 feet so that, we have 4 feet underground and 4 feet above ground. And that adds the elevation to the first floor and to the patio, which gives you a better perspective of the lake from there.
Okay. As far as the businesses, are they, I'm trying to look at it, are they pointed to the lake?
So we have 3 units that will be pointed to the lake and 2 units that would be in the backside, pointed to the east.
Got it. And any potential tenants yet or haven't even gotten?
We
that far?
actually, believe it or not, we are talking, so I do a lot of leasing in the downtown Lake Zurich area, but we are talking to a few potential tenants, and we'd, just like the other guys, we'd welcome to speak to consume and not to operate their business, but to let them work freely, but happy to talk to them as well. And honestly, maybe even Fabio, bring him in there as well. So we would welcome anybody, but for the most part, we're looking at it as, bringing in some tutoring businesses, retail, coffee shops, restaurants. It may seem like a lot, but I feel like being part of the community, and of course, my son growing up here, I feel like that is a need, is bringing in some tutoring. Maybe even another music shop.
Next question is, you said 1 to 2 bedroom apartments, correct?
Correct.
Not condos, apartments?
No, they're condo style, but they are apartments.
Okay, and who would run the,
Management?
Yes.
We would hire a professional management company.
okay. And then as far as, so if you look across the lake, right, we have some very luxurious looking, right next to Lago that, if I'm not mistaken, they're not fully sold yet.
Right.
What separates you? Is it the cost? It's a little more
So
cost friendly?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we did our homework on, the price per square, what we feel that those apartments would rent for. And just with underwriting the deal, I'm looking at $2.15 to maybe $2.25 a square foot. So to break it down, our 1-bedroom apartments would go for about $1,900, and our 2-bedroom apartments for about $2,500. And we looked at the apartments in the area and ran our comps, and that's how we came up with that number. So they are affordable.
And I know it was probably in the packet and you already said it. How many total 1-bedroom and how many total 2-bedroom?
Sure. So we have a total of 24 1-bedroom and 27 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
So if I'm doing the math, and I told there was no math on Mondays after a long weekend.
Sure.
Just making sure as far as the parking, right? 24, got it, 48, then the additional plus all the businesses, I feel like that's still, do you feel it's adequate enough parking spots? So 161 parking spaces, if we're looking at just the residents taking, I feel like if we were to go restaurant, does that still give you enough space, or what's the alternative, right? I mean, obviously residents will go under, and I'm sure they're gonna pay a premium to go park underground, right? But for those that don't, plus the businesses, it could be a competitive issue with, restaurants. Lago, I know, has parking concerns,
Sure.
Stuff like that.
So we actually are looking at potentially acquiring another property, 101 and 83 Main Street, the Rackout property, where we feel we would be able to potentially add more parking and kind of work the two properties together with adding more parking offered to the residents. So that's something we're looking into. So in the event that we felt we needed more parking, then we would work with that other property development. And that's something I don't want to jump into now, but that's just the overall plan, is to not only work with Block A, but work with that other parcel in order to accommodate the residents and the customers with more parking available.
Yeah, because you gotta obviously include, if you did go businesses or retail, right, you're gonna need parking for all the employees as well.
Absolutely,
It's gonna take a chunk of it as well, so,
absolutely.
that's all I got, I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you for your questions.
Okay, thanks, Roger. Greg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, gentlemen, for your proposal and your interest in Lake Zurich. Being a resident of Lake Zurich, I'm sure you have noticed that there's a lot of activity on Block A, especially when the weather's nice. So folks are down there, they use it for parking. We had the food truck socials there a couple years ago. If you could just give me an idea of how you see your project enhancing the downtown Lake Zurich area. In a lot of ways, that's potentially a gateway to our downtown. I know you're very familiar with the businesses and the retail there. I'd be interested in, kind of your vision for this property and how it may add to our community.
Absolutely. So what I see long-term is growing our density, growing the awareness of Lake Zurich. By adding this project to Block A, we will start bringing in more businesses that are interested, hopefully big franchises. We don't have a study on how the traffic flow would work yet. However, being on that block and walking, to the promenade with my dog, I can tell you right now, it's kind of a site where I would like to see businesses, living space, and people actually enjoying their living in Lake Zurich. So I guess to answer your question, it will only improve it. And I believe the highest and best use is a mixed-use development for this site. Not with 2 restaurants, not with 1 restaurant, but with multiple restaurants potentially and multiple businesses. And I know the parking situation has always been a question mark. Even when I went to the comprehensive plan with Zurich, that was the #1 problem that business owners had, is we needed more parking. Well, we want to add that. But we also thought by potentially developing this property, we may have an issue for parking. So we're going to resolve that by hopefully acquiring the property next door. And overall, I think that's only going to bring more traffic to the downtown area. When we had that comprehensive plan, we tried to match ourselves with Libertyville or Barrington. What we don't have, as you know, is a train stop and a big parking garage. I think the overall plan is, if we were to do this project, is to increase the parking, bring in more people where, like my family would come in and safely say, I like to go into downtown Lake Zurich. I don't have to park at your house. I can park at one of the open parking spots. So overall, increasing the density and increasing the awareness and driving in some better, not better, but overall just more noticeable brands. For example, I can think of 2 or 3 businesses right now that I think would do very well in the downtown area. But, with your blessing and our hard work, and I do want to mention one thing. We're not just investors that, have multiple locations throughout the states or multiple investments. Not only can we bring in, the experience, the financing, but we can also work with filling up the building. When I say that, our company, Coldwell Banker Realty, which I'm affiliated with, we have a rental division. So not only can we rent the building out, and we can also rent out the commercial space, which is what I do. I was also involved with the vault. I brought in Frank and got that space filled up. I'm working with somebody right now to take down the offbeat, fill in that space as well. So my point is that we have experience, we will fill it in, we want to increase the density, and by doing so, this project will not only be for the community, but it'll be by the community.
So thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just going to offer one suggestion.
Sure.
You can take it for whatever it's worth. I'm all for bringing folks into Lake Zurich, and I'd love to see a vibrant downtown. A lot of us here on the dais have been working towards that for a long time. But as you think about bringing people in, I would just suggest that you don't forget about the folks who already live here.
Oh, for sure.
And I know that you're in the area too, but I think whatever that property becomes, I'm hoping whoever develops it, it has, as I had mentioned before, it has become kind of a focal point of our downtown area for folks to be on the promenade and to do those things. And I hope whatever development goes in there takes those folks into consideration as things develop. So I thank you for your presentation and your interest and your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. William?
Yeah, so a couple of things, it's more just feedback as you consider moving on to the next step, going to PZC. I think going a little bit further detail on how you're describing luxury within the rental units themselves, like what would justify, we've had situations where there's, ranges of rental costs that's there, and then it ends up being changed, and the luxury isn't as luxury once it kind of goes through the process. And then also the vernacular around condo style apartments, just maybe describing that a little bit further in terms of what you're meaning there, what the vision is, some of the look and feel inside. In terms of the spaces, I'm going to keep picking on parking. I really appreciate all the effort and the thoughtfulness around like how to make it work, but it's hard for me to envision approving something like this with the hope that another building or another property is going to be bought to take care of the parking. I feel like it needs to be coupled with it. You're looking at over 100 spots just for the rental units themselves. You bring in one of, maybe the local establishments that you talked about, the rest of the spots are taken care of. So that's where the concern is. If you have 4 or 5 different rental units for businesses on the first floor, and you have 1 or 2 that's hopping, the other ones won't even have room for their employees, let alone the patrons. And then that overflows to everything else. The whole point is drawing more foot traffic, more attention in that space. So the parking is a concern of mine. I understand that you're working on other pieces as well, and that's great, but I think it needing to be coupled or coincided with it's important.
No, definitely. I think we're looking at this as a whole. And I do want to mention, I am the listing agent for that other property that I speak of. So I've already spoken to that owner as well about some of the plans that we have, and he's very interested as well. So I know originally when we were looking at this, I know Consume had the step ahead of us, so we kind of backed off and we're going to focus on at that other property. But we just feel like we're going to tackle this one first, and if we can do them both together, great. But I think more importantly, I think we're going to be able to solve some of the parking questions that you may have, issues that people have overall. And I am going to take into consideration the people that are living here. You're right, because I hear, speaking to the parents and coaching their kids, what we need here in downtown Lake Zurich. And as I'm looking for tenants and bringing them in there and helping them sign leases and working at their buildings, I'll be considerate into the type of businesses that we're bringing in. We just don't want to bring a brewery just to bring a brewery, right? We want what's going to help what's going to make me as a parent feel better, knowing that a business is there to potentially bring some value to my child or to the children in Lake Zurich. So.
And I think the deliberateness or the thoughtfulness that you're putting around what tenants go in there is important. However, it being an unknown factor, and I know most of the time in these situations, you build it, they will come kind of a situation, you maybe have 1 or 2 anchor and then the rest of them come. However, with parking being a concern, I was on PZC for 8 years. When I put on that hat, I see a concern of like, okay, I kind of want some idea, because parking is a concern, some idea of either where the parking's coming from. So is there another property that's built alongside it or with it, or a better idea what tenants are going to be in there from a rental or from a business perspective. So then you can kind of gauge it. Is it, to your point, is it, guitar lessons or something? We're looking 1 or 2 patrons an hour, or is it a coffee shop, 2 bars, a restaurant, and a liquor store? And then all of a sudden, there's absolutely no parking for the employees, let alone the patrons.
Right. No, that makes sense, and we deal with that in different different towns that we're working with, that I represent many sellers that own properties, and we have to be very selective in the type of tenants that we bring into the property due to parking spaces and limited parking. With that being said, I do have relationships with other property owners in the downtown area, and some of you may know who they are, of course. And I have spoken with them about some of the parking that they have available, and if they'd be interested in potentially us using some of their parking in the event of an overflow.
Don't take my questions and kind of
No,
feedback.
I think
as
it's
me
very,
going
I think
against
parking
it.
has always been the biggest question and the biggest issue, and with the relationships that I have, I think that we're gonna be able to overcome that and not only do a service to our customers and our clients, but to the village, because that's something that was brought up in the comprehensive plan, and we'd like to be a part of helping or resolving that issue.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much.
Okay. MB, Mary Beth?
Thanks.
Hi.
Thank you for your presentation and the materials you provided before the meeting. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse. We've talked about the parking enough. But as a residential as well as commercial realtor, I do think one of the things you can think about is take an analysis of current buildings, I don't know, Libertyville, wherever, bedrooms, how many cars usually go with each of those apartments. And the other thing is a little bit of a, chess match, but talk about the varied businesses. What are their hours? Where's their peak? And where does that fall? Do you have a tutoring company that you know you're working with so far?
I am.
When would they have the influx? When do they have their appointments? Because certainly during the day, probably not.
Right.
So, and on weekends, I would think weekends and evenings, but probably not too late because they're tutoring students who need to get home and get rest.
Of course.
So I think that you could kind of look at it in a spreadsheet and
Sure.
see what might work to help trade off the parking issue. I don't think 161 is enough. I
Okay.
will tell you that. And I'm happy about the description of the sub-garage indoor parking. I think that's good, if you could fit more. I know these are beginning renderings. I'd like to see a little more greenery
Yes.
and maybe some outdoor seating provided by the building, not just the retailers who are coming in. So that's my feedback. But thank you again for
Absolutely.
considering Lake Zurich.
And if we were to come back and present again, I would provide some void reports that can show you that depending on the business, how the traffic flows depending on the type of business.
Right, and the hours.
With peak hours,
Yep.
absolutely.
I think that would work. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Okay. Dan?
Yeah, thanks for your presentation. Thanks for the interest in coming in there. So Block A is an interesting piece of property, right? And I think some people have called it the gateway coming through the promenade to the town and different things like that. And I think it is kind of a neat piece of property, and we've had it for a bit, right? Looking for the right use that's really good for the community. I think ideally, the right use is a place that is a destination where people will travel into and frequent, right? From neighborhoods outside of the downtown area and from other communities and so forth. So I'm personally more motivated by a concept that talks about that destination place, like the retail that you're gonna plan to bring in, whether that's restaurants or breweries or tutoring, right? Tutoring to me doesn't seem like a destination kind of business that's gonna attract people to frequent downtown and enjoy our downtown and so forth. And I think, to me, the presentation or the proposal is a little bit more heavily residentially weighted as far as income streams and the purpose of the development proposal versus that destination kind of special place that we want to turn Block A into, or at least I'd like to see it along that lakefront, which you did describe really nicely of how it is kind of could be a special place, right, for the community and downtown area. So those would be my comments. I would be more motivated to hear more about the retail, anchors, tenants,
Sure.
what you plan to do with that piece to drive downtown activity,
Absolutely.
and so forth, more than the apartments, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, and
Thank you, though.
Yeah, you're welcome, definitely. And we, had conversations with Mike about potentially, keeping some spaces available for office use. And we're still looking into doing some more research if more office space would be the highest and best use for that building, especially due to parking issues. But absolutely, I hear what you said, and we will come back with just overall more information on how being a destination building would be more exciting for the community.
And might I add, the three retail spaces towards the lake would be the destination with the patio, especially summertime days like today, for a family to come around and grab a burger or a pizza. So that would be the focus, that the front three would be certainly a destination, and the ones in the back would be more to support the residents, such as the tutoring center or a dental office, or depends on the demand of the public, but those would be more of the daytime businesses versus the evening and later on, the restaurants getting the traffic coming in.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. So just if we could hear more about
Certainly.
those first three. Thanks.
Yep.
I just was thinking that, on this tutoring aspect, I understand what Trustee Bobrowski's saying. Sometimes parents will then drop off their kid and then use the restaurant, so there could be a dual benefit to that.
That's what
I'm just
exactly
thinking that
what I do.
hypothetically. But the other thing is, would you ever consider kind of sequestering a portion of the rooftop and leasing that out to the restaurant business on the first floor seasonally? I know the logistics of that might be tricky, but
Yeah.
just throwing that out there.
No, actually, on the first floor, they'll have access, not only the residents, but the retailers to the rooftop
Okay.
as well. So that is definitely a great idea, and we would like to utilize it the highest and best.
Thank you.
Yep,
Okay, couple questions for me.
sure.
What would be the purpose of the rooftop amenity? Would that be for the residents only, or would that be for any retail or restaurant that you would put on the bottom level?
So the way I think it would be definitely for the residents, a rooftop amenity. However, adding on the ability to lease up space or use maybe a private area for our retail residents would be something that I think would be an add value. For example, I have a building that I work with in the city where the landlord has allocated a portion of the rooftop just for private events for his retail tenants. So that might be something that we'd be looking to as well. We're also really taking into consideration the noise level. So we're even thinking of a potential enclosed area, if possible, or something that retracts. That way we won't have any issues with noise levels, even though we plan to close it down early and not, potentially even 10 o'clock and not make too much noise on the roof.
Okay. Can you describe to me what a condo-style apartment is? Is it a condo or is it an apartment, and what is a condo-style apartment?
A condo-style apartment is an apartment where all utilities are separated. So that condo has its own gas, electric, heating, water bill. Everything is separate to that condo-style building. We have no plans on turning it into a condo, but like me personally, I lived in a building that was, a condo-style building, and it was nice. It was more spacious to me. I had all my utilities, and that's what a condo-style building is to me. As far as the finishes and what we plan to do with it, my partner can probably get into that, but that's still something we're working on as far as the type of finishes. But we'd like to keep it pretty much close to what we have already offered here in the downtown Lake Zurich area, like the 40 East Main Street. That's not an older building, but it's not a newer building. We'd like something like that, just with newer features. We can't be at the price level of the buildings by Lago, as we know. However, we'd like to offer those types of finishes, but not with those types of prices.
Okay. We didn't create, this board and this staff didn't create Block A as it stands today. But we've spent a lot of time listening to the residents on what the residents would like to see on that block. And I'll be very frank with you, I don't hear the residents asking for this. They're asking for what we have seen from Consume in the past and what we saw from Romeo Capudio and Fabio a couple of weeks ago. And this, from my perspective, isn't even close to that. It's a nice-looking building, but the exterior and ground level doesn't present much of an open space for use of the lake, or not use of the lake, but at least viewing the lake and outside dining and activities that what we have heard for years the community is looking for, which is why we have used that property in the past for certain activities like food trucks and stuff like that. So we get food trucks down there. We had to move them because of construction, but we've had a lot of people tell us that'd be a great use of it if it looked like those other two renditions. So I guess that's the only thing that I have to say. I would like to see something more personally in that vein, where there would be an option for more activity in front of the building, on the grounds. I don't see that here. I see like I said, it's a nice-looking building, but is that what we want for that particular property? I'm not so sure that that's it, but that's my opinion, so.
So we do have 5,100 square feet of the patio space. We just, I guess in the renderings, it did not highlight it as well.
Right.
But we can certainly focus in on that. And then the look and feel of the building, this is just the initial plan. We can certainly soften it up, give it a more homely feeling. But yeah, we can certainly make it the way we all determine it.
Yeah.
Yeah, our first building was, as you called it, the Miami Vice building that we proposed, and now we're here, and we'll get there, so just tell us what you feel, and I agree. I mean, it's 100%, I agree. We need more greenery. We want that destination spot, and we want our residents and our community to love this building, to say, wow, that building is,
Okay.
that's exactly what we wanted, and we're willing to put that together.
Okay, well, yep, William?
I was just going to say, just to build on President's comment here, is if you think about those other two properties and what they brought, is it was giving the community, it was including them in the ability to have a better view of the lake, be involved with the lake. As much as like you look at the inner lake shore, I understand the concept of allowing the residents to have that rooftop. It actually helps you sell the units, it keeps them at a certain level, et cetera. But like for this circumstance, if we're able to have something where there is access for, it is a restaurant, or it is something that anyone can come off the street, and if they're a patron, and be able to have a view of the only rooftop bar or rooftop view in Lake Zurich, I think that would provide more inclusion for the rest of the community, and you probably get a larger rallying around it in comparison to the others that have been presented thus far.
Let me mention this, that the patio space is not going to be exclusively leased to any of the retail units. It's going to be for customers that will grab their food and be able to go out and eat. And we will have access to that patio space even to the public. So if I'm out there, with my son and we just gone fishing and we have a sandwich in our hand, we'd be able to walk there freely and enjoy that patio space and enjoy the views of the lake. So there won't be exclusivity for those retail tenants. If their customers want to come out and use it, because we'll have seating, terrific. So yeah, we'll have that, the tenants will have, the community will have that ability to go utilize that patio space and enjoy the views of the lake without worrying about being kicked out because they're not a customer of any of those retail tenants.
Okay, well, the purpose of this courtesy review is to get some feedback from us, and anybody else have anything more you want to add? So I think that's it for tonight. Thank you for coming in. I'm encouraged that we've got a lot of interest on that property right now, and in Lake Zurich in general. So, work with Sarosh, soften that thing up a little bit, and let's see how the mop flops.
Thank you for your time,
Thank you
Mayor,
for coming in.
trustees. Thank you for your, have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is a courtesy review with Fidelity Group for cannabis dispensary at 909 South Rand Road. Again, trustee Bobrowski.
Thank you, Mayor. So in summary, Mr. Jason Sapphire of Fidelity Group requests a courtesy review with the Village Board to consider a new cannabis dispensary to be operated by Duchess at 909 South Rand Road. The proposal concept consists of demolishing the existing building and replacing it with a new commercial building containing the cannabis dispensary. And again, this is a non-voting item just for a courtesy review.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Wow, this works. This evening, we have Mr. Jason Sapphire and representatives of Duchess here to make a brief presentation on how they intend to use the property for their new dispensary. Jason?
Hello again, Mayor, trustees, staff. Since I can't use that microphone, will this come up there automatically? Okay, good. So tonight I have with me Tyler Manick, the attorney for Duchess. I have Alexis, she's going to be the VP of Operations, and then I have Mark with P4 Security representing Duchess. If you have any questions, they will come up and do part of this presentation as well. So obviously you know us, you know our family. We've been here for 34 plus years developing property. We've taken a little bit of a break from developing, probably just because there's not a lot of property left, which is okay. That means Lake Zurich's getting pretty developed out, which is good for the community and, you know, good for us. So. But we did come across this piece of property back a couple years ago, 909 South Rand Road, which is known as the Kwanzaa Hut in Lake Zurich, the only Kwanzaa Hut ever to be in Lake Zurich. So we're excited now that we have an opportunity to develop it. We weren't sure what we were going to do with it. We really just bought it because we wanted it to be contiguous to the Deer Path Common Shopping Center and just kind of wanted to control what was happening there because we did grant access to our shopping center through traffic back to Hawk Automotive when we developed that, which was a request of the board and the PZC at that time. So we just felt that it would be a good piece for us because we were already tied in with it and we controlled the parking lot already. So, Michael, I'm going to ask real quick, do you have the other document as well that I had sent?
Yes.
Is it in here?
Both of them are there.
Both
Which
of
one
them?
did you want, though?
Can I have the one, I sent this one today.
Yes.
Can I have the other one first? Maybe not?
It's there. I think it's there.
Okay. Here we go.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Perfect. Somebody's listening to me in the back.
Is that the one that you'd like?
I threw a map on it.
Threw a map on it?
yeah.
Okay, great. I can start with this then. So as you can see, this is 909 South Rand Road. As I described, it's the Kwanzaa Hut, and it is adjacent to our Deer Path Commons Shopping Center. I will use the pointer. So as you can see, this is right now where the companion animal hospital, the new tropical smoothie, the new duck donuts are going to be going, just to give you a little bit of perspective. And, you know, as you know, we've owned the shopping center for 15 years. So next slide. Here we go. Here's the site plan we've created. We just did it over an aerial because it's much easier to see it than giving you a geometric site plan with utilities and grading plans and everything. So we think this is pretty clean. As you can see by the curb lines, wrong one. I'll get it, I promise. Can we make this bigger again, please? I got to do it. I can do it.
I'll handle it in the background. Just give me a
Okay.
second.
Thank you.
There you go.
As you can see by these curb lines here, they are directly overlaid over the existing curb lines, which means on the sides that the residents border, we are not encroaching any more towards the residents. We've actually decided that we were going to go ahead and shift this building towards our property because that made more sense to have it more towards the commercial property and then more towards the residents. So we put all the parking on the one side of the building because the current configuration is the building's in the middle and it has parking on both sides, which is really funky for traffic and wouldn't work for a new commercial building anyways. So we're building a 3,500 square foot building. We've moved it as far forward as we can on the property line again so that we don't have building setback close to the rear yard setback, which would be a residential setback. And we are not increasing the size of the parking lot area on the property at all. We're able to keep the access road in the front still in place, and we're not going to be touching the entrance, so we will not need an IDOT permit. So we feel pretty good about the way it lays out from the standpoint of a 3,500 square foot building, fitting on this site, achieving loading. We did position the trash enclosure to be pointed towards our property as well, so that when it is loading and unloading, the time that the truck has to sit there for the longest amount of time that it does, it would be pointed towards the commercial property, not towards the residential property. So doing this a long time, we've tried to think about how we can be a good neighbor in developing the property. I know that the use is going to be more of a conversation, but we'll have that conversation in a minute when I introduce my tenant that we already have signed lease with. Here's a rendering of the building that we developed. As you can see, it matches a little bit, similar with the brick and some of the stonework that we have on the existing buildings, but we didn't want to make it identical because we really wanted this building to kind of feel, I'll be totally honest, my daughter has become an interior designer. She's graduated from ISU, and this is now what she does. And she told me that our current buildings are outdated, and I needed to get with the times. So this building has a little bit more, you can see it as the darker cornice on the top. We've integrated some lap siding on the sign fascia instead of the traditional drive it everywhere that the commercial buildings always have. We've gone to thin brick or thin stone in the back, just adding some more architectural features that make the building look a little bit more with the times, and my daughter's really happy with me at this point. Here's a side elevation. As you can see, this is I'm going to get it right this time. Here's the thin stone I was talking about. Instead of using a traditional CMU unit like block, we decided to go, this will be a steel stud framed building with a beam and column frame, so that any time if we ever wanted to, we could punch more openings into these, because these are non-bearing walls and these just have a veneer over them. So we're trying to think about use of the building in the future too. At any time, if you want to stop me and ask me questions, please feel free. This can be an interactive conversation, because I don't want to get 17 slides down and then, you forget. So, but you're all pretty good at taking notes.
Quickie. What's the square footage of the current building?
It's about 4,000 square feet. It's like 41, 47 or something
So
weird.
This is smaller.
It is smaller, yeah. And it's not a Kwanzaa hut. Again, here's just a few different renderings, different looks. We haven't really landed on an exact color. I like the first one better, but we're just giving options, and I'd be open to any of them if we go to PZC and they say, we like that one, or, I'm not married to any of them, so we've just got some different options. But more importantly, I just want to let you know we're putting a lot of thought into the architectural appearance of the building, because we own a lot of shopping centers on 12, and we don't want it to look like just another shopping center. We kind of want it to look like a little bit more of an up-class commercial building. Here's the front elevation. We added the Duchess Cannabis sign, so that would be what their sign would look like, as you can see it on the colored rendering. Does that mean we're out of slides?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. We didn't add in the landscape plan? No? Okay.
I just put up what you gave me.
Okay. That might have been my error. So that's the building and the site plan. We've already done a landscape plan. We're not going to be coming forward with any landscape variations or needing variances for landscape. We're going to meet all the side yard and the rear yard. It's already been designed. It's actually designed by the gentleman that did the Chase Bank facility that's on the corner of 12 and 22 adjacent to my property. I thought he did such a good job in designing their landscaping. I had him do ours. So I wish we had it, but we can send it over to Sarosh and he can get it to you before we would come back. But it certainly will be well landscaped. We understand there's residents behind us, so we're going to load up the back. We're going to put a new fence in. That was the plan. It can be a 7-foot mayor if that's what you'd like, but standard would be 6. I've even toyed with the idea, and I'm just throwing it out there, I'm spending my own money before I need to, but I've talked about, if you remember when we did the Walmart, years ago we put that precast wall behind there. It's such a small amount, I would consider doing something like that at the 6-foot level if that was something that would make the village happy and the residents behind us happy. So that would be something we could consider, doing that modular precast wall, because it does add another level of security. And I like it because I don't have to maintain it. Once it's done, it's done. I'm tired of changing fence slats and getting calls from Mary that we need to go change fence slats. So we also designed the photometric already, so we're a little bit ahead of things, but I want to get this thing rolling pretty quick. The photometric did not have any spillover off our property line. It met all of the standard village requirements. We were going to be going with 15-foot poles to keep them lower, obviously, because of the neighboring residents. And 15 foot's pretty low in a commercial setting, but we still could get the, light dispersion that we need to light the parking lot. And we were actually going to be only adding 3 poles, and then we were going to be using wall packs on the building to light the front. I could go back to they took it away, but the parking lot area, if you remember the building, there were spaces that are drive-ups. We would be lighting those with wall packs on the building instead of having to add another light pole to light those again, so we wouldn't have to be, intruding on the neighbors with light or anything like that. And even if you don't spill over with your photometric plan, there's still a glowing light there, so we would try and, do that with those sconces, or if we did change those to wall packs or something, we'll figure that out. So I hope it gives you a pretty good idea of what I plan to build. At this time, I'll turn it over to my tenant, Duchess, and they can, yes, you're not done with me.
So this building will accommodate anything, not just a cannabis dispensary, if that should change. It's a multi-purpose building.
It's built as a 3,500 square foot multi-use, commercial building like the rest of ours. It could be anything. It could be retail. It could be restaurant. It could be all those things. The great thing is that, if I can, I'm going to go back to the site plan real quick because I just want to point out one thing. Can you put it up on the screen for me? I've got it here on the computer. Thank you, sir. Whoever you are, Magic Man. If you look here, you can't see it, but the plan is going to be to put a sidewalk that connects up here all the way to the front of the building that will connect my parking lot at the Deer Path Commons to my other parking lot at this new site. And we already have a we have a cross-access agreement, but we will create a cross-access parking agreement between the two properties so that there'd be shared parking as well. So that's important to know, that there would never be a parking burden on this property because we'd have spillover into the main center, which is already overparked by about 20 spaces. We've done that math. So we've kind of tried to think about everything, and then I wanted to make it like part of the main center, so it wasn't like this little thing sitting on an island. I wanted it to feel like it was just another outlet, so to speak, of the main building. So I hope that answers your question, Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Good.
I'm happy to answer any questions about the building development construction, or if you want to listen to their presentation first, I'm happy to come back up at the end if you have any questions.
Well, let's talk about the building if anybody wants to.
Great.
Anybody?
This might be a Sarosh question. How close, or is there any? There's residential right behind it. Is there any distance that you have to be pushed away from residential?
Yes, there are setback requirements for commercial buildings up against residential properties, and those are in the zoning code. I understand that they are, based on what they've submitted, meeting those setback requirements.
You didn't mention, and maybe it'll come up later in the presentation, hours of operation. And the reason why I always ask that is, cars driving through late at night, headlights going into people's backyard.
Sure, that's part of their presentation that they have in-depth detail on, so I can have her answer it now, or we can just wait, if you're okay with that,
Yeah, I'm
Trustee.
good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Dan?
No, I'll just say as far as the property and the layout, and it's really first class. You said you've been through this a bit and stuff like that, and you've already proactively answered a lot of issues that come up, right, a lot of times when you come to this. So appreciate you taking the time to do that, Jason, because I think it puts you ahead of the game, right? And it's easier for the board to look at these kind of things in the PCC. And, keep your daughter on staff too. Like, you're changing
Thank you.
Changing
Yeah,
the designs.
thank
That's
you.
good stuff.
Thanks, Trustee Dan.
Okay, anybody else? Nope. Okay, onward.
Okay. I'll introduce Alexis now from Duchess.
Hello, nice to meet you all.
Yeah, can we have the other presentation now from the back room?
I'll just introduce myself. My name is Alexis BG Pro. I am the VP of Retail Operations for Duchess Cannabis, and we wanted to take some time for you to get to know us a little bit today. So we are a women-owned cannabis company. My corporate team and I, we've got over 18 years of cannabis experience combined between all three of us. Myself personally, just so you know a little bit about my background, I have been in the cannabis industry for almost 5 years now. Prior to that, I worked in operations and multi-unit management in various different retail settings, including GameStop. I'll go way back, Sam Goody, if you guys remember them. And then also working at Amazon in operations management as well. At Duchess, we currently have 2 stores that are in operation right now. We've got Oak Park and Morton Grove, so those are open. And then our plan is to have 4 more in Illinois by the end of the year, and then opening additional locations in 2025. Our proposed locations, as we've talked about, is 909 Rand Road. It was the former auto body shop. Our hours of operation will be Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and then Sunday will be open 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then the number of employees, so we're targeting about 14 employees to start, and then we'll look to grow to about 22. And then we'll run about 7 associates per shift. We'll run an opening shift and then a closing shift as well. So our floor plan, and just to get you a little familiar with the flow of the store and how it works, the gray area up at the top, you will see that is the entry level, the entrance, which is our vestibule. That is a public access area. The yellow location is going to be what the state and what we consider limited access. You have to be 21 and older to enter into this area. And this is the dispensary floor. This is where we'll have associates there to help customers place their order and talk about our products. The light green area is going to be what's called restricted access, and only employees are allowed in this area. The next one, the teal, is going to be the secured vault area where we do store and sell our products out of. Every single area has locking doors where you have to have an RFID key access card to enter, making the building secure. I know you saw different signage on the other slide, but this is one that we've really looked at and we really prefer to do. It's got our logo on it. You've got the front and the side of the location, as well as the marquee sign out front announcing our business. We really want a clean, high-end look at Duchess Cannabis.
So you would you're taking the entire building, there wouldn't be a co-tenant in the building?
No, it'd just be us single. Okay. And then just to talk a little bit about security plans. So we've got an alarm and intrusion system. We are required by state to have glass breaks, motion detectors. We also have a burglar alarm, panic buttons, and door contacts. So we are all monitored by a national security company. We talked a little bit about the restricted access areas earlier. You do have to have that RFID key access to enter into those locations, and we do keep a log of who is entering and exiting those locations as well. We do have a comprehensive surveillance system. This is required also by state regulations. We do have to have monitors. We are actually, we have 2 different agencies that oversee us in the state of Illinois, Illinois State Police and IDFPR. They are required to have camera access 24/7, live views and recordings. So they can access this. We can also access this off-site. And then we do have on-site security. So I actually do have Kevin Conway, who is here with me today, who's going to talk a little bit about his company, P4. But just so you guys are aware, we are required in Illinois to have a PERC registered licensed security guard on premise at all times. We cannot operate unless they are present. So I'm going to turn it over to Kevin to talk a little bit more about his company, P4.
Sure, thank you. And you can leave that security plan up if you don't mind. My name's Kevin Conway. I'm the Senior Vice President of Operations for P4 Security. We are a physical security company based out of Downers Grove, Illinois. We employ about 600 off-duty and retired police officers and 700 civilian officers. Some of our more notable customers are the Chicago Bears, University of Chicago, Northwestern Hospital. We do several commercial high-rises both downtown and here in the suburbs. We have multiple cannabis companies that we operate with. Curaleaf is the largest company that we operate with. We're with them in 14 states, but they're headquartered here out of Illinois. Ascend as well, they're a pretty big player in the cannabis space. Windy City Cannabis, and of course, to name a few. So we do a total of 41 in the state of Illinois, 41 dispensaries and 2 grow facilities. And then, of course, we work with Duchess as well. And I left the security plan up because I'm sure there's going to be some questions pertaining to how the security operates in dispensaries. I'd be more than happy to answer those for you.
Okay. Does anybody, we've seen these security plans before. They're all, everybody's pretty much required to do the same thing.
For sure.
Does the same thing, so I'm comfortable with that. Anybody else have any questions? Nope. Okay,
All right. Thank you.
This actually completes our presentation.
okay. So overall, who wants to go first?
I don't mind. Can we
William?
start by either Ray or Sharos or Michael, just giving an update on either the currently, or the previously approved or previously presented cannabis businesses that has come before?
Yes, so the special use permit was approved a little over 2 years ago. They have an extension to complete their setup and start operations by July 1st. That deadline is fast approaching, and they have quite a bit of work that they need to do in order to meet that deadline. I know that they've been in contact very recently with Sorosha's staff to see what they can do to accelerate their activity in order to comply with that deadline. So Sorosh, we haven't caught up yet today, so he might have a more up-to-date report.
They've asked for permission to conduct construction over the weekends as well. We do allow construction hours between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. weekdays and 8 to 5 on weekends, with nothing on Sundays. But in this particular case, for the next 3 weeks, up until the 30th of June, we have granted them permission to work on weekends as well in order to give them the benefit of additional time with the hope of them completing their project and being operational by July 1st.
Thank you. And the reason why I asked is I know that's not you all, but the oversaturation of this market is something I hear from either the residents, and it's honestly a concern I have. So that being said, a couple things. One, on the Fidelity Group, the flow and continuity that you're doing with your other properties, I really appreciate it. I think it makes a lot of sense, whether it's this use or another. And then considering the use itself, I do actually agree with you on the precast wall might make sense for this one from a security purpose and just, in general. We've had a number of different, I think this is our third or fourth that has come through the village. And so I've had a number of these presentations. So the security and everything aligning, it all makes sense. I actually, in comparison to other locations that have been presented to us before, much like the one that has been approved, I actually do prefer this kind of situation in terms of like walking traffic, other nearby uses, et cetera. So I actually do like the locational component of it, and I appreciate the presentation thus far. But I will say the saturation of the market in comparison to what actually happens with the previously approved cannabis company is something that will probably, I know, I'll weigh if it continues to go further down the line, and I assume the PZC would too.
Mary Beth? I have nothing. Nope. Dan?
No, comfortable with the site plans and the design of the building, and, the design looks nice. I like that part of it. Comfortable with the security piece. I guess the business piece of it, as Trustee Riley said, saturation of that business and just the business as a whole. I'm just personally, I'm Luke on. So, and I know we have another one coming to town. And Sorosh, are they actively working right now? I mean, are they going to meet these deadlines? Or are they asking for this, but no, there's no activity out there? I haven't been by there for a bit.
As of last week, there was no activity, but we understand that this week they are ramping up their activity, and we will continuously from time to time, I would say, checking on them to make sure that they are on track to finish by July 1st. Otherwise, they lose their entitlements.
So you said they are wrapping up their activity.
Ramping up, yes.
Oh, ramping up, okay.
Not wrapping
So,
up.
so maybe some, if there's gonna be too close, right, maybe some kind of information about other markets where there is a lot of saturation, how they all exist, right, how that works, who wins, who loses. I'm not trying to dictate like, you know, who's the most successful business versus another, right? So let free market take its place in a way. But it would be interesting to learn about that, so we have good, successful businesses in the village.
So, while you're on that topic, what made you decide to open up? Let's assume that the other one is gonna open up. What made you decide to open up a second one in our community?
So I think for us, what makes us very unique is we are a women-owned cannabis, and we really focus on a lot of the social equity infusers and cultivators out there, the craft growers. So it makes us a little unique compared to other places. There's a big need for that in the market right now, and there's a lot of new infusers that are continuously coming in line. So.
Yeah, but it's a dollars and cents business, and those are all nice buzzwords at this point, but what, can we accommodate two competitors in that marketplace in our community?
So
Especially in light of the fact that everybody around us is jumping on the bandwagon.
Absolutely. And I've worked in other markets before, especially the city of Chicago downtown, River North area, where there's lots of dispensaries in there, and we've all been able to coexist. The volume, they're a little bit different than what it used to be back in 2019 when we opened, but we can all still exist together. There's different products you focus on and different things you focus on to bring those customers into your location.
Okay, well, they can put 20,000 people in Chicago in a block.
Yes.
It takes us the whole town to do 20,000, so. Anyway, anybody else down here?
Just one quick question.
Greg?
So, thank you for your input to the mayor's question. Specifically, though, to why Lake Zurich? What's appealing? So you've got an operation in Morton Grove, an operation in Oak Park.
Yep.
Not geographically convenient to Lake Zurich. What's appealing about our community to open your business?
So I with Lake Zurich, I used to run some GameStops and had some areas out here. I think you've got a great shopping area down here, a great downtown area that brings people in. And there's not a ton of dispensaries out in this area. So while we might be talking about two different coming into this, or two in the city, we still don't have a lot of competition in the external areas as well.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
I think
If I could just jump in real quick about, you all know me and know that this will be our third, well, we have like 300 storefronts in Lake Zurich. And I wouldn't move forward with something or even bring it to you if I wasn't confident they were going to go through with it. We have a signed lease with a guarantee. So if this does get approved, they have the confidence that they're going to be able to perform, or they're going to have to pay me on a guarantee. So I think those things are important to understand from a business standpoint, right? The economics and the traffic and the amount, I don't know anything about that. I just know shopping center business, I know retail business. And when I have a tenant that comes to me, the property wasn't even listed. The tenant came to me, we had plans already to build a building, it worked out, and they had said, we're willing to sign, a guarantee because we believe in our business and our brand. That's when I'm willing to invest in, build a building and stand behind that and put my reputation in the city, on the line. So I just think it's important information because this isn't, we've been working on this for a while, and we have crafted a pretty intense lease, as the cannabis leases have to be, that does have some guarantees and some drivers for them to perform, or they do, have to pay a penalty. So I'm confident. I just wanted to say that to you all, that I'm confident that this is going to work out. So thank you.
Sure. If you don't mind, I have the luxury of traveling all over the country for cannabis facilities that relate specifically to security in our company. What I've seen are a couple of markets that have saturated. Michigan and Florida are two of the worst, where there's a dispensary almost on every corner. And Illinois is very, very far from reaching anything near a saturation point. And what we see on our security side is as the states become oversaturated with the dispensaries, all of the ancillary requirements start to fall to the wayside, security being one of them. And so we don't have any physical security officers in the state of Michigan because of it, or the state of Florida, where they once were required. And because of that, you know, we're seeing a degrade in the types of buildings that are going up in Florida and Michigan for dispensaries. So they're going inside of strip malls now. They're not doing new construction. So I think, for me personally, I think if construction were to happen for a dispensary in Illinois, now's the time to strike, because they're putting a ton of money into the infrastructure of these dispensaries for Illinois specifically. We're seeing that for the entire state of Illinois. There's not a dispensary you'd walk into that you didn't think was a beautiful facility. But I encourage you to go to any dispensary in the state of Michigan or Florida, and you would see a very stark difference.
Well,
So that's where
I
we're
don't
at.
think we have a problem with the actual facility at this point.
Sure.
It's the business more than
I see.
that.
Yeah, and so the saturation right now is very low for Illinois. So they're very particular about how they're issuing licenses and how many year over year. So we're, you know, from our studies from a security standpoint, we feel that Illinois is going to be pretty strong for the next 5 years on the cannabis side of the fence.
But that's at the macro level. At the micro level where we are, it might not be. So,
Sure,
I mean,
absolutely.
if we have 2 or 3
Yeah, and I
here, and
couldn't
we have one
speak
up
to
the
that.
road and down the road and to the east and west, that's different.
Sure,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
I think I got
Okay.
one
Oh,
question,
Roger?
and
Yep.
my concern more comes with the neighbors, right? The neighbors are going to be close proximity, and I get it. They're going to back up, and you're well within the distance. And maybe this goes to the security. And you just touched on it a little bit, you know, gorgeous facilities, very well kept. Has there ever been any concerns at maybe your other locations of break-ins or police or any of that we have to worry about because it is literally in somebody's backyard?
Yeah. So, yeah, I've worked for, this will be my 3rd cannabis company. I have not had a armed robbery, a break-in. I came from other businesses where we experienced armed robberies and things like that, and I have not experienced that in the cannabis industry. Just so you are all aware, there is a no loitering policy in Illinois for cannabis, so we're not allowed to have customers that hang out on the property. They're not allowed to hang out into the store as well. That is very strict regulations from the state of Illinois.
So they buy and go.
They buy and go, absolutely.
And I could speak to the security aspect of that. So in the state of Illinois, there's not been a single armed robbery inside a dispensary. Any burglaries are very few, if any, and they're always overnight, and they're typically in some rough areas. What we do as a company for each one of our dispensaries, we run a CAP index report, which gives us, it's a third-party company that use crime statistics to create a predictive crime cycle, and it gives you a score based on your zip code, how likely you are to experience certain crimes. And this area falls like well below the national average, and so it's not likely that you're going to experience crime in this area, specifically to the cannabis dispensary.
So all hours would have security.
So-
Some-
That is required by the state.
Correct.
We
Right.
could, if for some reason a security guard doesn't show up, I cannot open the doors.
Right.
If a camera fails, I cannot open the doors. Sorry. Sorry, I have a little voice. Sorry. Yeah, if the security guard doesn't show up, we are not allowed to operate in the state of Illinois. That is part of the cannabis regulation, as well as any cameras or any security pieces. If they're not functioning, I cannot open my doors, and I have to let the state know. We are under very strict regulation with that.
And we have a 24-hour security operations center that monitors all of the alarms. So if there's an alarm that goes off, our 24-hour dispatch looks inside the facility to vet the alarm. So it reduces the amount of false alarms going to the police department, or we validate the alarm. We say, yes, there is a break-in. 99% of the time, it's, you know, a mouse running across the floor type of thing.
For a sign, but, and same thing, I have access to the camera systems off-site, so if we do get a false alarm, the first thing I do is power up my laptop, look at the cameras, see what's going on, and to your point, a lot of times maybe a sign fell or something just fell that caused the alarm, and we can, let the alarm monitoring company know not to dispatch the police officers.
Got it. And the security, on-site security prevents loitering or ensures they move on, correct?
They do walk the interior and exterior of the building, and we like to have them positioned at different points in the building, so people don't get used to seeing them just in one spot in the dispensary.
I'm good, thank you.
And I'll just say one last question, just publicly. This isn't directed at anybody. I think there might be a few residents sitting out here listening to this. As we've always done with every development, I invite the residents, come to my office, let's have a conversation. And if it's about security or about a precast wall or about anything we can do to help, you know, make the residents feel more comfortable, I'm willing to do that. That our door's open. We're in Lake Zurich, not as residents, but as business residents, and I would be happy to meet with any of them. And if that solves some problems now before we get to, that's the better way to do it. Let's not get into a public hearing and have people unhappy. Come to my office. Let's hammer it out and see if we can be good neighbors, business neighbors along with residential neighbors. So just to that point.
No, and I was one.
Yeah.
Where Aldi's was, I was living right behind there for a while, and my wife and father-in-law did come and talk with you. So I think that is a benefit of having you local. It's not some company that we don't
Right.
know. You're open,
Yeah.
right? And I do appreciate that. Is it still going to ease them?
I don't know,
I mean,
but
you're never going to please everybody. I will say that, and I think you know that. You've been doing.
Yeah,
You've got
for
a lot
sure.
of businesses here. You're not going to make everybody happy, but at least you're making the effort. I will.
as long as
say.
we own these properties, we'll still be here in Lake Zurich. So eventually I might end up in Florida, but we'll see.
Okay, I'm going to do something I don't usually do, and that is I see two people in the back of the room who have sat here for this presentation, it looks like. In particular, do you have any questions or comments that you would like to make with regard to this issue? You have to come up here.
Sorry. From what I understand, it sounds like a done deal. Is it like it's already the businesses?
No, we don't have an application yet, and there's no approval for anything, so there's no done deal for anything.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood. So,
no, I have a signed lease, so.
Right.
And my lenders, if we do use lenders, really like me to have a signed lease for something before we go forward.
Use the mic.
sorry.
We were having a conversation.
That was, I mean, I think.
No, so we have a signed lease. That doesn't mean, right, if this doesn't get approved by the village board, by PZC, by all of that, then we don't have a deal. And then our lease goes away, and we put this property back out to market.
This is only a courtesy review. The whole they have a whole process to go through yet.
Right.
I'm hoping it's a done deal for me, because then it would be great.
Yeah.
But regardless, I'm building the building.
Yeah.
I'd love to have them as my
I'm
tenant.
not wholly opposed. I was just curious because I wasn't aware, but I know there's another one. Is it by Costco?
Get
it
by the
still-
mic, would you? And just pull it down. Yeah.
Is it by Costco?
It's the TGI Fridays building near
Yeah.
Costco. Yes,
So-
that's the one we were talking about before.
Okay. I just don't know enough about dispensaries to know like how many you need in town, like Starbucks, but it's like, you know, just curious about the
Okay.
industry. That was
Well,
it.
I saw you sitting back there, and
Yeah, and obviously, they all heard that, and we'll bring some statistics and some better saturation materials when we
you
do
go
get
through
to
the
point.
process.
Yeah, so
Okay.
thank you. Thanks
Okay.
for everything. We appreciate it.
good deal. We're finished with that tonight. Thank you. It'll be up to you to make up your mind what you want to do and how you proceed. But thank you for
We're
coming
going
in.
forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good deal. Okay, that's the end of our new business tonight. Let's move on to some reports. Are there any trustee reports tonight? Anybody?
I have one, Mr. Mayor.
Greg Weider?
Yes,
Greg
so,
Weider has one?
I had the opportunity to attend the 32nd annual Dick Schick Fishing Derby on Father's Day, so I just wanted to take a second to thank the Schick family for all they do to help bring this event to our community. It was a beautiful day. There were lots of families out there. It's a nice event for our village. It's a nice event for the Schick family, so I just want to take a second to thank them and our staff for a great job.
Okay, anybody else? Nope. Okay, village staff reports. Anybody got one tonight? Nope, Ray does.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Three quick things. One, at the end of the meeting, we're requesting that we go into a brief executive session for the topics of personnel and collective bargaining. The second is a reminder that this Saturday is our household chemical waste collection date. We participate in the SWALCO rotation of going around community to community, where you can bring in things like oil and gasoline, old batteries, pool chemicals, things like that, that you might want to dispose of but don't want to throw in the garbage. That'll be 8 to 2:30 in the Lake Zurich High School parking lot. So last month was Mundelein, next month is Skokie if you missed this Saturday. So, and then, of course, you can always make an arrangement with Falco to have those materials picked up independently. And then the third item is I want to welcome a relatively new face. We haven't chased her off yet in the past month. Colleen McCauley is our new village planner. She comes to us from the University of Illinois, Urban and Regional Planning Studies, and she had completed coming here, completed an internship with the city of Champaign. So you'll be seeing Colleen's name and face in a number of things, including the upcoming PZC meeting. So welcome, Colleen, and wanted to introduce you to the mayor, to the board, and to the community.
Okay. Welcome. Welcome. You got good teachers here. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our regular business tonight. We will be adjourning to executive session for.
Please include a review of executive session minutes.
Where's my note?
It will be 21, 5 IALCS, 122C.
So it'll be for 5 ILCS 122C personnel and 2C2 for collective bargaining and review of executive session minutes. We will adjourn to executive session, and the final adjournment of executive session will also be for this meeting. We have no other business to transmit, to do in public, so that'll be the end of the meeting when we come out of executive session. So can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So move, Shigru.
And a second?
Second, Euchre.
Mary Beth, then please call the roll.
Trustee Weider?
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski?
Aye.
Trustee Euchre?
Aye.
Trustee Riley? Trustee Shagru?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Next meeting will be hopefully July 1st. Thanks for everybody for watching.